Hi guys, it's daytime and we're here. It is daytime on Wednesday, the 15th of July.
Daytime of all the times.
Of all the times, yeah. I don't see a lot of daylight these days. And it makes it 117, day 117 of our lockdown vlog. So yeah, the reason we're filming this at a reasonable hour, and it's a very reasonable hour, it's like 6:30 or something, is because I'm going out. So I want to get this done because I'm going out. I'm going over to a friend's house. There will be wine. I'm not filming after that. I've learned my lessons. Yeah, I expect copious amounts of wine will be drunk, and therefore so will I. So I thought I'd do this at a proper time of day. So hello, yes, hi. Yeah, we've got a few things. We left you on a bit of a cliffhanger yesterday, and actually I haven't got a huge amount of detail on it, but we should explain what we were on about with the fact that your horoscopes might have changed. Mine has. I thought I was a Gemini. Apparently I'm a Taurus. Who knew?
I was a Libra, now I'm a Virgo.
So what's Libra? Libra is
Scales.
The scales, and Virgo is the maiden.
Yeah, I've never liked...
They were both quite boring, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I've never liked my star sign because it's just the scales. It's really... And some people have like crabs or lobsters.
There's no lobsters. There is a crab.
Isn't there a lobster?
There's Scorpio, which is a scorpion.
Oh, yeah.
Scorpion and Cancer are
right.
The crab and the scorpion.
Scorpion, not... But still cool.
Lobsters.
Right? There's a lion. I'd have settled for a ram.
Yeah, well, I'm a big old bull now.
Like, I mean, a woman is better than a scale, obviously. Like...
Yeah.
Is sentient.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
A woman is better than a scale,
you know,
but not as good as a cow.
He said grumpily, I suppose a woman is better than a scale, but, you know...
But I wanted to be a bull.
But how many Yorkshire puddings have I made by measuring out this flour on Ellie? None. Scales are actually really useful sometimes. So it's a toss-up. But,
oh, you are a one.
I was very cynical about this.
Well, I used to be two whole people because I used to be the twins, and now I'm a bull. Which
that's good. That's an upgrade.
I don't think that's an upgrade. I quite liked the twins. I quite liked being able to suggest that I had sort of multiple personalities.
Thing is, I was very cynical about this new horoscope, this new star sign thing. But then I found out that Virgos are naturally tend towards cynicism, and that's what I am now, so it checks out.
Does check out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's actually happened there, and actually I've spoken to a friend of mine who knows more about this sort of stuff. But yeah, basically NASA have been they've sort of gone back in time to when the Babylonians were looking at the constellations and the stars, because of like it being thousands of years since then, the stars have sort of shifted. And certain constellations are more visible than they were, and some of them are exactly the same because they're so far away and where they are, but some have slightly shifted, slightly changed, and more or less visible. And one of them, which I can't pronounce, it's a word that I've not heard before, it's like Opicasalus or something. I'll fact check it and I'll put the story in, but it's not, it doesn't fall off the tongue, but is a constellation that should have been factored into Babylonian astrology and is the 13th sign of the zodiac, allegedly. And so with that 13th sign of the zodiac, all of the dates of all of the months for like where you'd be have shifted slightly. So they've sort of become slightly smaller. So if you were vaguely close to the end of one, you might now be in the start of the other, etc. Now, obviously, there's quite a lot, there's a big spectrum on what you think about horoscopes. And I sort of think certainly with your sun sign, which is the like what you'll have one of 12, well 13 now, but 1 in 12 options of sort of all of them. The idea that you could sort of base anything on anyone's, like you've got a 1 in 10, 12 chance of being exactly this personality type, seems unlikely. But actually, if you go into sort of people who are really into astrology, it's far more in depth than that. And actually goes very much down onto where the stars were at the time you were born, so what was where and all of that, and actually you have your star, moon, and all sorts of other stuff which I don't really understand, but that is much more personalised, and therefore I will allow that, like, or at least that's sort of a smaller range of sort of characteristics. Essentially with all of these things, all of them, I kind of think they're used as a tool to help you work out things about yourself and work out what you think about things and how you feel about things. And for those purposes, I'm all
like,
for them.
Like Dianetics.
I don't know what that is.
It's the stuff that they do for Scientology.
No, that's
It's just a tool to
Hello.
find out things about yourself and kind of help yourself. So get involved with Scientology as well.
Look at it. No, don't.
Hello. Oh, look at this cat.
Look at this cat.
He's been on camera almost. He was for a bit. You can see the back of his head.
So
Look
yeah,
at the camera.
no, right. Basically, so obviously there's a big big discrepancy between the science community and the sort of spiritualism community, and so regularly, apparently, NASA try and debunk horoscopes. Now, personally, I don't really think that's necessary, because I think most people take it with a pinch of salt and don't really think it's rooted in science anyway. But it's sort of a thing that they apparently do quite frequently. Like every few years they'll be like, oh, actually this is not quite right.
Is that what they're doing? Do you think they're sort of going, oh, well, if we can't debunk it, we'll just tell them it's different and they'll have to change it all?
Just fuck them.
Just fuck with them. Because I was saying this last night, I bet there are people, like you can order like your star charts and things online. I bet there are literally people in the world who've like ordered a star chart, going, oh yeah, I want to find out about my horoscope, find out a bit more about myself, feeling very spiritual. I've seen this advert online, I'm going to order that. And then in the gap between them ordering that thing and paying for it and it actually arriving in the post, this new information has come and changed things around.
Actually, your star chart wouldn't change anyway, because your star chart is where the stars were when you were born, which is that's a finite thing. Like changing this.
Aren't they saying that the stars aren't where they thought they were?
No. They're saying that like because of the 13th sign of the zodiac, having 13 possible signs have kind of shifted whether you would be born a Capricorn or an Aquarius or whatever. But the star chart you have, if you're having your stars done in your horoscopes, and is based on where the stars actually were when you were born.
All right. Well, maybe I don't claim to be an expert in any of this nonsense, but what I would say is, like. I think my point still stands, because maybe not specifically star charts, but people might have bought, for example, a mug with Libra written on it, or a tea towel, and now turns out
what
they're
I think
a Virgo,
NASA have accidentally done here is make lots of extra money for the astrology community, because people who are really into it will get all that stuff again.
I find
and get it all done all over again.
I mean, because I'm sort of surprised that NASA are even involving themselves in it. Like, you know, they're just there.
You would hope they had better things to do, really.
Back to the, you know, one of the NASA scientists reports back to his boss, going, "Oh, we've just discovered there's a new star sign. Is that good science? No. Well, then fine, we won't worry about it. Crack on with some science." Like
the star signs, though, are based on constellations, and NASA is very much allowed to be looking at constellations.
Yeah, but there's lots of stuff that's based on space stuff. Yeah. Like in the Marvel universe, in comics, right? The Inhumans. Yeah. And I think I'm getting this right. The Inhumans in the Marvel Universe live in the moon.
Yeah.
Now, if NASA were to come out with a report going, we've done some tests on the density of the moon, and it turns out it's definitely solid and no one could be living in there.
Yeah.
So, according to our findings, the Inhumans must be living somewhere different from where we'd previously assumed.
I think you're misinterpreting what I mean by when I sort of allow for this. Like, I don't think it's factual.
I'm not talking about. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just talking about in the world. Why are NASA talking about this stuff? Like, it's the same to me as like, why are they not doing a report about the Inhumans can't possibly live on the moon?
Constellations are actual pictures that you could make up looking at the stars.
We've disproved the science of Planet Hulk. Like,
no, that's not the same. That's not the same correlation whatsoever.
It's not science, is it? It's just something
constellations
said.
are. Yes, like, constellations very much are. They're very much in the astronomy.
The constellations exist.
Yeah.
But it's what you do with that information. It's going. Yeah. There's an extra constellation, and therefore star signs. Like, the moon is a thing, and therefore comic book characters. Do you know what I mean?
No. Yeah. That's an overreach. The constellations are very much part of astrology, and star signs are very much part of constellations, astronomy. Star signs, astrology. Those two things are too similar
That's what I'm saying. NASA can say, "Oh look, there's a new constellation."
Right.
Why are they weighing in?
Why
are they weighing in on astrology?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
To debunk it, because they
could do
don't
an
like
experiment on the moon.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't then go, and because of our findings, the Marvel universe is wrong, and we need to kind of re-examine how.
Well, essentially, you're just saying, NASA, keep your nose out of astrology. You're making yourselves look bad.
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, why are they? Why do they?
Because they want to debunk it. Because it bothers them.
But they're doing that through the kind of the lens of pretending it's real and kind of.
Through the medium of science.
Sorry, guys, we're going to have to change it all.
Well, they're not saying, oh, by the way, your star signs, which are real, have changed. They're saying, oh, by the way, their star signs has to be bullshit, because actually there would have been another one, and all of the stuff you've been basing it on is bullshit. All of the astrologers are just going, well, that isn't actually what we based it on anyway.
I'm obviously undecided about
No,
astrology.
you're not.
I'm obviously... You have to choose your words carefully these days. You have to be careful what you say.
Oh, God, don't you?
Don't express an opinion, for God's sake. So I'm undecided about star signs.
No, you're not.
They could be obvious bullshit, or they could be very, very real. But what I will say is, like, everyone's star signs changing feels very on brand for 2020.
Oh, God, yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Like, how has lockdown...
We've fundamentally changed who you are as people, guys.
How has lockdown affected you? Well, when I went into lockdown, I was Libra. My actual literal star sign has been changed. I've got a whole new personality from when I went into lockdown.
Oh, God, there was this meme that, well, it's a screenshot that somebody has taken of some woman, and it's part of her screen name is Lillian O'Brien or something. It's Lillian something. And she went, I was born... I can't remember the star signs because I can't remember which ones are close, but she was like, I was born under the sign of Libra. I will die a Libra. You can't say I'm a Virgo or whatever. And someone else just went, calm down, Lily. It's all right. This doesn't actually change anything in your life. It's fine. But yeah, it's like, because annoyingly, the story that I sort of went for, because last night I was thinking about putting the story in the blurb, and then I thought, no, we'll explain it on the blog, and then I'll put the story in. But the first one that came up is NASA announced the 13th sign of the zodiac, so most people's horoscopes have changed. Denise Welsh outraged, and then it shows a still of her on Loose Women kicking off because she's not a Capricorn anymore, and it's just like this isn't very good journalism, guys. Like, I'm not sure this is like the angle on this story you should be taking.
It makes it very difficult to trust her opinions on anything else, doesn't it?
Well, I have to confess, Loose Women is not my first port of call when it comes to...
Is it not?
No.
It's my #1 news resource.
I've literally never seen you watching Loose Women.
I used to watch it at work before the lockdown, and now lockdown's over. I don't know what's going on. Now lockdown's still ongoing, I should say.
Well, they're probably not still making it, are they? They'd have to all be zooming in.
They must be making it, because otherwise how can Denise Welsh be outraged about
yeah,
it?
well, it didn't look like it was Zoom footage. It must have been in the studio, socially distanced.
Maybe they're socially distanced now. Maybe they're starting to bring things back. I've not really been paying attention.
Bringing escape rooms back. That's what we're doing. I'm actually excited. I think... we've had, like I say, there's quite a few things. Are you just waving at a cat, like, by literally putting your hand over my face on the vlog? Hello, cat!
The cat is over there, and I need to reach up in a way that so he can see my hand from behind the screen, and he's looking at me.
I think priorities, mate. We're filming.
I don't want him to think that I don't love him.
Right, anyway, so yeah, I said that we've got quite a few things that we need to sort of get in line before we can contemplate reopening. Come on, Babs, eyes in the room. And we had some good news on some of that today, which means that actually we are one step closer to being able to reopen, which is really exciting. I won't go into it because it's boring, but it's exciting for me. But also, I sort of got, again, a bit more done on my sort of to-do list of things to do, which is making me feel like much more in control and much more able to sort of look forward into any semblance of my future and see some hope in it. Yeah, I'm feeling quite good. I thought I might be a bit daunted. Well, I am a bit daunted, to be honest, but I thought I might be sort of a bit like, oh, but actually all this like downtime has been really good, and being able to stay in my bubble has been quite sort of comfortable, which is true. But actually, the more I look towards reopening, and the more I can sort of make plans and do things and actually like make money. I need to make money. I've got a wedding to plan. So yeah, actually I feel quite a lot encouraged. Obviously, anything that we do is very much with this all the big old question marks over us, because it's quite possible that we might be in a second lockdown this winter, because when we don't have the ability to all socialise outdoors, and it's colder and it's wetter, and we also have all of the seasonal sort of strain on the NHS anyway, it's not unlikely that there may be some level of lockdown re-implemented, which may not be a total lockdown, but it might be that sort of indoor leisure activities that involve mixing households get put on hold, and sort of mixing indoors, sort of, it probably won't be that they'll go like close down all the offices and close down all public transport, and to that level again, maybe. But I suspect if of any of the sort of industries that get shut down and reopened and shut down and reopened, it's going to be us. So we kind of want to get open and get loads of people through the door, loads of people booking some stuff in a like little burst, because at least that might give us a little bit of a nest egg to see us through the winter if we have to close again. So yeah, I'm feeling quite good about that. I'm feeling quite like, yeah, like not empowered, that's not the right word, but sort of, I don't know, motivated, enthused, I think is the word I was going for, which is nice. It's nice to sort of have that back on the horizon again. So yeah, that's something that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I've still got lots to do to get that all in place, but I've got a few chunks done today, and sort of I've got sort of a list to work through. I love a list. Oh, I love a list to work through. Ticking stuff off a to-do list. Oh, you feel like you've sorted your life out, which I absolutely have not. I've just sorted out a few admin tasks.
Yeah, I did a little bit of work.
You were quite productive today. Well, you were productive before I'd even woken up.
Relatively, but then it's kind of productive where you sort of go, I have done things that I needed to do, but I don't necessarily feel like I've got much to show for it at the end.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes there are things you get done and you're like, brilliant, now I've got this thing that I've done and I've got this work that I've achieved. And a lot
I've
of
got
this
nothing
today
to
was
show
like
for
kind
any of the work that I've done.
Sending some emails or doing admin type things. Like, I guess like yourself today, doing admin type stuff that you don't really feel like you got much to show for it at the end. But anyway, I mean to be negative. I was actually trying to say is like, it's been a weird time in lockdown, and I think we're trying to kind of, productivity has been very up and down, and as things start going into life again, excuse me, I'm trying to sort of work towards sort of being more productive, but I'm taking baby steps and kind of
me too.
Not being too hard on myself really at the minute. I think.
Well, I'm certainly. I think one of the last things I work towards is going to be getting up at a more reasonable hour, because it's my least favourite thing in life anyway. Getting up.
That's my big.
I'm really not a fan.
My big dread about being called back to work, and like, because when I moved,
sort of a 6 a.m. start again.
Yeah, when I moved to Newport from Cardiff, that suddenly added not just extra commuting time onto my day at either end, which isn't fun, but just literally having to get up a lot earlier every single day. And that was hard enough when I was going from getting up at sort of 7:30 to kind of getting up at sort of 6. But then to go from getting up at about 10:30 to getting up at 6 is going to be a real culture shock.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Hopefully the move was worth it, though.
Yes. Absolutely, it was. Yes. I'm just...
Sorry, there's a fly that has been flying around this living room all fucking day, actually for a few days, and he keeps getting right up in my business. But I don't even know if you'll be able to see him on the screen because he's quite little and fast. But I keep sort of just going and looking like a proper mental, which I am, but I'm not seeing invisible things. Like,
no,
so
the ways in which Ellie is a proper mental, scientifically, are different to seeing flies that aren't there.
Yeah.
I can vouch for the fact that places.
I hate flies.
It's warm and it's not like, you know, we put all our food scraps in the food waste bin and we'd wash the stuff in the dishwasher. We're not leaving squalor around to attract flies. I guess maybe bits of cat food probably don't.
Yeah.
Guys, if you would just eat it all in one go, actually, that'd be nice. But yeah, there are flies.
Yeah.
People are kicking off, aren't they, about masks?
Yes, loads of people. Loads of dickheads. That does remind me that I need to find my mask because I'm going to be catching a cab, so I need to wear a mask. But yeah, like people, like particularly, I think it's safe to say, particularly Americans. But obviously, as ever, there's the lunatic fringe over here as well. That in America, it always seems to boil down to this is infringing on my rights. This is not constitutional.
I'm an American and I'm going to do what I want.
And essentially, like, it's not though, is it? Like, no more than sort of asking you to cover your genitals in public is like, it's a law. Yeah, it's your right to do what you like with your body, but within the realms of sort of public safety and decency. Yeah. So, like, okay, also, by the way, they're not saying you have to wear a mask above all else, but they are saying if you want to use businesses, you have to wear a mask inside them, which is fair. And if you're a business owner, ultimately you've got the obligation to keep your staff and other patrons safe. So it would be like now if somebody just decided, no, I'm going to smoke indoors. Well, not in my business, you fucking not. Toodles. Like, it's not freedom of speech and freedom of expression. If I own a business, I can, to a certain extent, say what happens within my walls, particularly if it's to do with the safety of myself, my staff, or other patrons. And that involves saying, sorry guys, you're just going to have to put up with the desperately horrible situation of wearing a little bit of stuff on your face for like 20 minutes while you do your shopping.
I saw some...
Get over your fucking self.
I saw some bellend on Facebook going, know your rights.
I saw
this. If you go into a shop, they can't, it's only a guideline, you don't have to wear a mask, it's only a guideline, they can't throw you out because of social distancing, and if the police, all they can do is call the police, and the police can't arrest you because it's only a guideline. And I'm like, I don't know about the legality of it, but I do know, like, a shop can refuse to serve you. So they might not be able to throw you out, but it's going to be pointless you being in there when they say, right, well, we're not going to serve you.
Not going to serve you.
And also, just like, fuck the fuck off and wear a mask, you fuck.
Like, how hard is it, guys? Like, yes, I get it. They're not the most comfortable. They're quite hard if you're trying to have a discussion with someone, or like if you're in a shop and you're trying to explain something that you need them to get or whatever. It is like difficult. I didn't realise, and actually it's sort of partially a fibro thing, but particularly when my fibro is bad, I get sort of it's called hypervigilance, which you're sort of extra sensitive to all of your sensory input. So I didn't realise, but one of the skills I've sort of adapted over time is that I rely quite a lot on lip reading in loud environments, because if there's a lot of background noise, although you could be talking to me and it could be at this volume and it's not like you're drowned out, but I really struggle to differentiate between the sounds because it's all very overwhelming. So I lip read more than I realised, because to the extent, and I've done it to you, haven't I? We've been in pubs and you've sort of, I don't know, like just been talking like that, and I've just gone, can you move your hand? And I don't, so I get it. It is, I struggle, and it's difficult. It's inconvenient, but is it more inconvenient than people actually getting very sick and being in hospital or even dying? Like, I don't think it's really equivalent, is it? Like, it's the same thing as wearing a seatbelt. Yeah, they're not comfortable, but you might not die. But also with these rules with masks, it's not even there to protect you, it's to protect other people. So if you don't do it, you're the one being a real selfish prick. Other people wearing it protects you, you wearing it protects other people, so don't be a bellend.
All these people that you see going like, no, you're right, so you don't have to do this, I'm not going to do, I've got freedom, I can do what I want. It all just reminds me of a sketch from Leon Herring's Fist of Fun from the 90s, and I don't know if this sketch is available online anywhere to watch. You should check it out if it is, like, check it if it's on YouTube or something, I don't know. But it's, I've got it on DVD, but it's about a festival in an English town called the Pie Pie Festival, where people in this town, it's been this long-standing tradition going back decades, where, or even centuries, where like when they have a pie, they put the scraps from their pie in a special pie bin in the garden,
right,
that they leave outside,
right,
and and then that's collected by the pie man,
right,
and those scraps are made once a year into the Pie Pie,
right,
a big giant pie.
So it's a pie of pie.
And
right,
then,
okay.
And they have this big festival where they sort of drive it through the town, and then they all have a bit.
Old pie scraps. Okay.
Yeah, and then once a decade, all the scraps from the Pie Pie are made into the Pie Pie,
right,
and everyone eats that pie. And like sort of dozens of people are dying every year from horrible food poisoning.
Right, okay.
Right? And basically the EU say, no, you can't do this anymore.
Right.
And the people in this sketch, they're just protesting against the EU. They're rioting on the streets. And there's this one scene that sticks in my mind of Richard Herring as this old man going, yeah, the EU can't tell me what to do. I didn't fight in 2 world wars. Admittedly, but nonetheless, I won't be told what to do. I'll eat glass if I want to. I'll eat fire if I want to. The Brussels can't tell me, and that's the attitude, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and ultimately, if you were only putting yourselves at risk, I would I disagree with you, but I'd take less offence by it. Same with sort of anti-vaxxers. If you were only putting yourself at risk by choosing not to vaccinate yourself, then I'd be like, well, do you know what? Fine, fair enough. Hope you don't get polio. But that's not what happens when people don't conform. Other people die, or people who are too with vaccinations. Obviously, it goes without saying, but with vaccinations, if you don't vaccinate your children, other people around them, because they might pick something up and they might be fine. Like measles, for example, is quite nasty. I think previously the top cause of deafness was childhood measles. It's not actually, people equate it to being like chicken pox. It's not, it's very nasty. But people sort of go, oh, well, I'll just get measles and I'll be fine. Yeah, okay, but that immunocompromised person on the bus might die. Or a baby in that kid's childcare hasn't been vaccinated yet, might die, might go deaf, might lose a lifelong sense and be disabled for life because you worry about your kid being autistic. By the way, just so you know, vaccinations don't cause autism, and I would still rather have an autistic child than a dead one. So just wind your neck in, stop being dickheads. But fine, if it was only risking you, so for example, not wearing your seatbelt in a car, if you crash, you're the one going through the windscreen, you'll die. That was your poor choice, but you will probably horrifically scar the person who bumped into you and but essentially, mainly, you're only hurting yourself. By not wearing masks in public, if it has been sort of ordered that it is safe to do so and better to do so for public safety, is a dick move. And you are literally choosing your own comfort over other people's health, which is just the level of entitlement and first world entitlement that is. I don't want to wear a mask because it's a bit uncomfortable. Oh, boo, fucking who. But there was somebody sort of saying, well, if I have to wear masks, I'm not going to go to my local shop, like you said yesterday. Fine, shop online then. Fine, good.
But the thing is,
lovely, have at it.
It's like wearing a seatbelt, isn't it? Most of the time, you're not going to get in a car accident and you're going to be fine. But what if you do? What if this is that one time when you have a car crash and then you didn't have your seatbelt on?
And with the mask wearing, you wouldn't necessarily know if you, let's say you're not wearing a mask and then 2 weeks later you get a positive COVID test, you then self-isolate. You don't know that in that 2 weeks while you were shedding the virus, if you've killed someone or you've infected someone that then it has a terrible, terrible time in hospital, has lifelong lung scarring because you couldn't be bothered to wear a mask in Tesco. It's just get the fuck over yourselves.
Your brother.
We're not asking you to do anything painful or difficult.
Your brother shared something with me on Facebook. And it's
David or Alan?
Alan.
Right.
Your brother Alan shared something on Facebook, and it's a real thing. It's been reported in the
I saw
by the
it.
Independent. And it's a guy called Richard Rose, and basically it's got some Facebook posts from him, and it's him starting out going.
Pretty sad, actually.
Yeah, it is. He's sort of going, well, I'm not going to get a mask.
Literally one of those typical posts. The first picture is I'm not this is all basically fuss and bother. I'm not going to be told what I have to do. I'm a grown man. I'm not going to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Fuck you, basically.
Then the second thing that comes up is him going, oh, I've just contracted COVID-19.
Just got a positive test result. So anybody who's been around me, just so you know.
I'm a bit gutted because I was supposed to be starting a new job, and
now I've got to self-isolate for a couple of weeks.
And then the next thing is him going, oh, this COVID-19 is awful. It's really horrible. I'm just sat here and I'm completely out of breath and it's really unpleasant. And then the next thing is his memorial, because he's actually
dead.
died. It sounds like kind of like a meme or something someone's put together, but it's a real thing.
No, I fact-checked it the first time I saw it because I was like, that's awful. But there are a few others like that.
And it's not something that we bring up, because I know I was talking about sketches and things before and sort of having a go at people, but this isn't something that I bring up to kind of take the piss or whatever. We don't want people to die. It's grim, it's horrible, and even people we disagree with or people we think who have behaved irresponsibly, we don't want this to be
I don't want them to have bad consequences.
But I only bring it up to be look, maybe you're right. Maybe masks are a bit of a fuss. Maybe you're not going to get infected, but is it worth the risk?
No.
It just, you know,
Just
wear a mask
come on.
for a few weeks,
Suck
however
it
long
up.
it is, and you know, and because
You can get pretty cool ones, you can get pretty comfy ones, you can get pretty like funky designs and all sorts of stuff. Like, you know, make the best of it. Nobody would choose to be in this situation. If I had my choice, there wouldn't be a global pandemic, but there is, so make the best of it.
Well, I'm planning on sort of going to the shop to pick up some things in a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see because obviously it's not
mandatory
not
yet.
mandatory yet. Certainly not in Wales. But it'll be interesting to see if the news, you know, if people have had a bit of a rethink, because a lot of the time I've been going up there, I've been basically the only one in a mask. I felt very self-conscious. I've stuck to doing it anyway because I believe it's the right thing to do. I believe it's worth doing. But it'll be interesting to see if it's had an impact yet. If I go up to the shop, will there be more people in masks? You know?
Interesting. I suspect not, but we will see.
Yeah.
But actually, that does sort of lead me on. I do want to wrap up because I've got to get ready to go out. Well, I'm already ready to go out. I've got to actually go out. Yeah, it does sort of lead me on to one of the things. Cause similarly, there was a person in Texas who flouted the lockdown rules and had a COVID party. The idea being, bunch of people come together and mingle. Partially the idea was we're going to prove that there's nothing to worry about. Secondly, if we all get it and then we're immune, we can go on with our lives. The person who hosted the party died of COVID-19 a few weeks later, after being actually in hospital for several weeks, very unwell. The reason I mention that specifically is for the angle of, well, maybe we'll all just get it and get it over with and we'll work towards herd immunity, which is believed to have been, although not admittedly, one of the sort of real sort of plans that our government has been aiming for until it was realised it was so massively unpopular that they then kind of backtracked and dragged their feet and did implement lockdown slower than they should have. Now, this is a worry. The evidence that is emerging on the lines, obviously it's very hard to sort of study the long-term effects of COVID because it's so new. But there's significant evidence now to suggest that you do not retain permanent immunity. The antibodies seem to fade after a few months, and in the same way that you can catch the common cold again or you can catch flu again, it's looking like that might be the case with COVID-19. The argument is that it is more likely to be milder the second time round. But you're not necessarily going to be immune. So herd immunity is bullshit. And actually, if we just didn't have some semblance of lockdown and everybody got it all at once, that's going to overwhelm the NHS. That's going to overwhelm health services. But also, like, forgetting the 1%, 1 to 2% that will die, there's hundreds of thousands that are going to be in hospital at the same time. Hundreds of thousands of people who are going to have permanent lung damage, going to have permanent, because it's strongly linked to having subsequent small strokes and brain damage and all sorts of really nasty stuff, which our friend Eleanor, she's not an immunologist, but she's a scientist and she's done a fair amount of her own reading on this, and she sort of said, well, the fact that one of the symptoms that we know about is a sudden loss in your sense of taste and or smell, that shows that it's neurotoxic and it's fucking with your brain. It's fucking with the way your brain is interpreting signals. And if that kind of thing is happening that you can see a direct symptom to, there's all sorts of other shit that could be going on that could take longer to emerge, that could have lifelong effects. And I'll use another example of another lovely virus that we all know and we all love. We don't all have, but herpes. Once you've got it, and you'll have flares throughout your life. So whether or not that's sort of oral herpes with cold sores, or whether it's genital herpes, or any of your other kind of lovely, tasty varieties of herpes, once you've got it, and you'll have flares and remissions. But if one of your flares, like let's say coronavirus does have flares and remissions every few years, maybe like with the chickenpox virus, you have it as a kid and you only have chickenpox once, maybe twice if you had it really mild the first time. But then when you're an old lady, you get shingles, which is, I've had it and it's very painful. Because good old autoimmune disorders mean that my body behaves like an old fucking lady. So yeah, I had shingles last summer. But yeah, like once you've got it, you don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. So the idea that everybody let's just go back to normal, just all get it and then it'll be over with. That's just impractical. And
Last
even yeah, you remember just before I came up to Edinburgh. I had it quite mild.
Was that when I was all? Oh yeah.
It was quite painful.
Maybe it's because I was in Edinburgh so for some of that.
Yeah, it kind of flared. Well, actually, I'd started because it was on the back of my neck going down to the. I think it was this shoulder actually. But yeah, it was just starting to come when you were leaving. Because actually, I remember just being like, "Oh, this kind of feels a bit weird" on the day that you left for Edinburgh, and then I went up to Edinburgh a few weeks later.
I believe I forgot all about that. Sorry.
What a twat!
Yeah.
Why? I shouldn't have thought it mattered to you that much. You weren't.
Well,
like,
you matter to me.
Yeah, but me having some sore spots on my back while you're in another country is probably, I understand you not remembering that, that's fine. Yeah. But anyway, so we'll probably wrap that up there on that cheerful thought. But good to know that Chris doesn't notice when I've got like flesh-eating diseases. It's good level of lack of observation there. It's fine. It suits me. Why do I bother putting my makeup on? You wouldn't notice if I looked horrendous.
That's the title for this one. Chris doesn't notice when I've got flesh-eating diseases. Have some clicks.
Oblivious. Right, so I'm going to go and have some responsible, socially distanced garden drinking. Hooray. Have yourselves a lovely evening, folks, and we will see you back tomorrow for day 118. He's off. Bye.
Like and subscribe. There's no shame in it.